So it is election season right now. Okay. And actually, as a matter of fact, by the time this episode comes out, the voting should have been done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And I'm like, all these ads, bro, they're insane. They're absolutely insane.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And as a matter of fact, yesterday I found out that you could look up whether or not Will or I voted. Not who we voted for, but
You could do that?
yes.
No way.
Yeah, and
I didn't know that.
This isn't the first time it's a thing. Like, I guess this has happened for multiple elections.
Huh.
But now, never have I ever seen a commercial telling me that if I didn't vote, my neighbors can look up my name and it can say that I didn't vote. It's like they're trying to scare you to vote to do your civic duty, and I think that's disgusting.
I think in that portion of aspect, I disagree with it. I don't think anybody else should know you voted, but in yourself that you did vote. Because if you did vote, you did what you had to do because you believe you had to vote.
Exactly.
Some people don't have other reasons they don't believe it, But that in itself, that's pretty crazy. I didn't know that.
It's outlandish, and I've never seen a commercial like this before, but this has been the first election that I've seen commercials of where they're actually advertising that.
Yeah.
Hey, make sure everyone votes, because if you don't vote, your neighbor can look at you and look up your name and see if you voted or not.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, the information that's released is your I think it's your name, your address, and like if you voted, yes or no.
Huh.
It doesn't tell you who you voted for.
Oh, okay.
But isn't that pretty grimy, bro?
That is pretty grimy in itself.
Yeah.
Because one, I wouldn't want my address out there like that for anybody to see. Two,
Exactly.
honestly, I don't care if they know I voted or not. But at the same time, a lot of people probably don't want that because that's not something that's supposed to be private information. That's supposed to be like that's in our rights. It's private.
That's how we feel, but as a matter of fact, I'm sure we waived away our rights at some point.
Oh, yeah.
For it to just for them to be able to do this.
Yeah.
So that's pretty insane, though. I found that out, and I was looking at the commercial, and I'm like, that's insane. So that's one commercial, right?
Yep.
There's another commercial I saw on Twitter, right? And they're like, Kamala Harris is the C word. And I was like, holy shit. I'm like, this is crazy. I'm like, and just time and time again, they were like, C word, C word, C word, but they wouldn't say what it was, right? And then at the end, they're like, communists. And I'm like, oh shit.
Yep.
I'm like, I was not expecting that one.
Yep.
But yeah, man, these ads are getting outlandish, bro. They're getting crazy. What are your thoughts?
I think the ad campaign is pretty crazy. Kamala's ad campaign, she started late. Trump's been around. Trump is everywhere.
Yeah.
And that rightfully so. Trump believes that PA right now, PA is the winning state. So if he wins PA, he wins it all. Kamala wins. If she wins PA, she might win, but she'd have to win a bunch of other swing states. We're the most important to Trump because he's won all the other swing states at first.
I would be shocked if Kamala does win Pennsylvania, only because if you look at all the flyers and everything around this area, bro, it's Trump, Trump, Trump everywhere you go. And I'm like, all right, well, that's what's going to happen. So
if she wins, just know that they cheated.
Yeah.
They cheated before.
Well, oh my gosh, dude. We could really get into some crazy shit, but this is like,
yeah.
oh man, we're going to, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm telling you, it's deep. It's deep.
Yeah, it's deep,
real deep,
bro.
I've been in it. It's real deep.
I've heard of names being, scrubbed off the voting list and, authorities saying you have to put those names back on, although those people are deceased. And that's how you fake those votes. And
you want my prediction on how this is all going to go?
No, because I don't want to get you canceled before we start the show.
There you go.
All right. Yeah. But I will say what I do want to hear is, we were just talking about the election and presidential and everything of that nature. And you were at Trump's rally when he got his ear chipped. He got his ear clipped.
Yep.
Holy shit, man. Tell me about that experience. Tell me about your day. What were you expecting? I'm sure it wasn't that.
So I've been to a couple of Trump rallies before. I've been to a lot of his historic ones. So he did when he first reached his first over 100,000. That was in Wildwood, New Jersey. I went there, slept on the beach with my buddy, and
Sick.
Me and my buddy, dude, he loves Trump. He's been a Trump fan for like years, and he started me in the Trump rallies. So I went to my first one in Harrisburg, and I loved it. I was like, yo, this is awesome. Like, these people are cool.
Yeah.
So I started going, and then whenever he told me he was in Butler, 30 minutes away, I was like, all right, we're going for sure. I don't gotta pay; it's free. So I remember I brought my girlfriend. I was gonna bring my baby with because I was like, oh, it'd be a cool little family event, But I was like, no, it's too hot, so we left her home. And usually I get there a day ahead of time or whatever. So I got there, the night before, and we were in the grounds where it's supposed to be cleared off. So I already thought that was weird that I was there that early in the grounds, sleeping overnight in the grounds, and then they moved us out of the grounds just like maybe a few hours beforehand that they were letting the doors open. And then I remember we were just waiting in the cars. There was people lined up for like miles everywhere. They're just waiting for Trump. It's nuts. Like the amount of people that are there early at like midnight is crazy.
They love him. Pennsylvania, they love him.
Oh, dude, they love Trump. And I remember we got into the grounds, into the front gate around like 8 o'clock. And I think me, Vic, and my girlfriend and his family, we were there around. We were like the first people at the gate. We always try to get the front seats because that's the best where you can see Trump the best.
Yeah.
And we were sitting there. It took a long time. Like we didn't get in until about 1 o'clock. So I was already there for about 24 hours so far. We were just hanging out, doing whatever, talking to people, enjoying it. And it just seemed like everything was discombobulated. Everything was just didn't make sense because like Secret Service didn't show up till about 2 o'clock. Everybody got in, but it was like a rock concert. Like everybody was running in there.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. No, like they had us scan through the securities, but they really didn't.
As compared to other rallies that you've gone to, with this one, did it feel different? You know, with the security a lot more lax?
Oh yeah, it was way different because usually security's like uptight about everything that you bring in, everything that comes in. They check through everything like super well. Like they'll have guys coming in through the crowd, kind of managing the line, see who's like if anything's suspicious. But this time, nobody. There was nobody there doing any of that. Secret Service kind of just nonchalantly showed up, and when people were looking around, they just seen that like. There was no perimeter made. There was just guys at the security. Everybody started going in, and then when you got in, you couldn't see like there was security around, but not enough. It was like there was very little, and it was all limited. And then it took a while for Trump to get there. We sat down, we got good seats, and like we were like four rows from front, and we were just kind of enjoying it at the time being there in front. And then my girlfriend got sick. Kind of, so I had to take her home, and this is the part where I was there, but I wasn't there.
Okay.
So when I took her home, the rally, like Trump just got there speaking, and at her house the TV was going, and Trump was on the TV, and my buddy and his family were sitting right there too. So like my seats was being saved for me to come back, and then I looked at the news and I just seen that Trump got shot, and I was like, dude, there's no way. I was like, holy crap! So I got in my car. And I drove all the way back up there because my buddy was there. And I was like, yo, this has got to be the craziest thing. So I get there and I get to the front and I'm running out to the front to see the commotion and whatever. And again, people are running around. Like I couldn't even find my buddy. I couldn't find anybody. It was just everybody didn't know what to do.
You're crazy for just running back in there, bro. What if Secret Service could have came out and just tackled you, took you out?
I've had a
who is this guy running?
I've had a time like that at a rally at IUP where I was just kind of walking by myself and Secret Service came out of nowhere and they looked like they were about to tackle me because they thought I was just some random person about to do something crazy. I told them, I was like, I'm just trying to go to my car.
That's insane. that it's pretty insane and pretty memorable that you were there to just have that as a part of your life story. You know,
just be like, I witnessed history.
I was on a plane in Florida. I was on a plane in Florida. It's like, where were you when Trump got shot? You know,
it's like what everybody asked when 9/11 happened. Where were you on that day? Like, what happened? Where were you?
That's what it is. I could
be like, I was sitting in the front row, and then I came back and commotion everywhere. People it was nuts.
And that's what it is, guys. But the Middleman Podcast is not a political podcast. We're here to talk about people and hear what they do. Welcome to the platform. Welcome to the Middleman Podcast. Welcome to episode 117. 117, Mr. Will Bussmann, bro. Looking great. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. Nice watch, nice jacket. What's that jacket made out of? Actually, what's the brand, bro? That just looks wavy. I'm a fan.
To be honest, I don't even know the brand. I don't know. I got it as a gift from one of my homies. He gave me it for his birthday gift. He's like, yo, I found this jacket. It looked like your kind of style. And he was like, here it is. And I was like, dude, this is awesome. I like it. It's like a windbreaker kind of thing.
Yeah, it hooked you up for sure, man. So I'm excited that you're here. You know, we've had to reschedule a few times. That happens. Life happens. Yep. You know, we have some tea today. So have some tea here for the Middleman Podcast. Make sure, the vocals are all good and everything of that nature. But you took quite the drive to get here. But I don't know where you came from. Where did you drive from?
So I came over from the Pittsburgh area.
Oh, really? Yep. Okay. Is that where you reside?
Yeah. I used to live here locally in Wilkes-Barre.
Okay.
And so when I first moved to PA, I moved to Wilkes-Barre, and one of my friends lives there, and we got an apartment together. And then my girlfriend, I met her while I was here in Wilkes-Barre, and then I decided to, try to move out that way, be closer to her, enjoy the time. And I got a house over there, ended up having a kid probably a couple months later being actually there. I moved there a couple months later. We found out we were having a kid, and I was like, so that's where I'm at now, enjoying life with a little girl. And it's awesome. I love it.
So you were coming from you were coming from Pittsburgh, but you reside in Wilkes-Barre.
So right now I kind of back and forth.
Okay.
So I've been here because I've been working a lot here with Kelly and Methadonix really. So I've been kind of back and forth. Right now I'm residing over there mostly because now I'm working over there.
Cool, man.
And trying to make as much money as possible.
And so where were you born? Where'd you grow up?
I'm from Guatemala.
Shit.
I'm not even from the United States.
Okay.
So
I didn't know that.
I got adopted at a young age. I came around here, I think, when I was like 3 or 4.
Wow.
So I was just a little baby, but
That's a story.
oh yeah,
Can we hear more about that?
yeah,
Okay,
for sure.
yeah.
So I came from Guatemala City. I'm not actually born in the city of Guatemala, but that's where the orphanage was at. And then I was there. The orphanage was closing down. From the last I heard was that the orphanage was closing down. That's where I met my brother. And we're not blood related, but we both got adopted in the same family.
Wow.
And my parents, they adopted us, brought us to Minnesota, and that's Minnesota. As I started growing up, learning about America, different how the styles work. I didn't really understand it because I spoke Spanish when I came here. So,
Now, may I ask you, were your parents American?
yes.
Okay, so they went to Guatemala.
Yep.
Okay.
They flew all the way out to Guatemala. I know. I think my mom and my grandma both came and got me. And then I came to the States first. Then my brother came. And then my dad went and got my brother.
Are they from the same heritage background?
No.
No. Okay.
Nope. They're my mom's Irish, my dad's German. And then me and my brother were both Guatemalan.
Wow.
And then they got 2 of their own biological kids that were born in Minnesota as well. So
Now, this is a really personal question. If you don't want to answer it, that's fine. But do you know as to why you were left into an orphanage?
my mom was young.
Okay.
My mom was pretty young. She was like, I'm pretty sure she was like 14 when she had me. And so
Wow.
in Guatemala, it's hard to live in a poverty style and raise a kid at a young age. Because like $1 there to us means nothing, but to them it means everything. So I just know that my mom had to make the hard decision to give me that chance to have a better life.
Wow.
And like it took me a while to understand that because
Yeah.
I blame my mom for a lot of things because I never understood, that was like something she had to do. And like I thought it was just her giving me up. But, I took it over years. It took me a while to understand that she did it out of love. So
Have you reconnected with her since then?
No, I have not.
Okay.
I don't know anything about her. Never heard anything about my dad. I don't know if I have brothers or sisters. I don't want to know, to be honest.
Okay.
I kind of want to stay in the dark from it all. Mostly because
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I never knew my father. Okay, so like just backstory here. My father was around. He was he left when I was young, like real young. So I don't have any recollection of him. Right. I had this thought that I wanted to go see him and go meet him and see who he was. Right. I think I was 19 or 20 at the time, probably 20, and I met him in New York, Brooklyn, at a DNA center. No shit, I'm not even lying. And so anyway, like I met him and I really thought that I wanted to build this relationship with him.
Yeah.
That's why I went out. I wanted to build a relationship. I wanted to see what it could have been like. At this point, I'm grown. I have my own apartment with some friends. I'm in college. I've got my job, my degree, blah, 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 things of that nature. And so I decide to meet him. And so I do. And then like we took the DNA test and, Hispanic mothers, right?
Yep.
My mother was like, that motherfucker, like, who does he think he is, asking for a DNA test. So anyway, I came back that I was his son 100%. And then he was just hitting me up every day.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, dude, like, I don't know you like this, bro.
Yeah.
Like, so I told him basically pump the brakes, right?
Yep.
And then COVID happened. And then that same year was Easter. And I was like, fuck it. Happy Easter. Right?
Yep.
Just why not,
Yep.
right? Let's see if we could build something here. And I never got a response. But I realized, I'm not gonna lie, and I'm only sharing the story with you because, you had mentioned you think you want to stay in the dark. I realized that within a few minutes of like meeting him and, you know, after the interaction that I think I really just wanted to know what he looked like.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
That is it. I really wanted to just know what he looked like, and I got that. I saw what he looked like. I saw what my 40s and 50s look like, you know?
Yep.
And then after I was like, yeah, I think I'm good, you know? So I wonder if you ever change your thought process on that.
Yeah. I mean, maybe down the road, whenever like my daughter's old enough to understand, you know, because like it'd be crazy to see my mom, but at the same time it'd be like I'd have to keep it at just being able to see her, you know, because it'll play back in the back of my mind of like all them years that everything that happened throughout my life of me blaming her. That's the only thing I'm gonna think about when I look at her, and that's what I don't want to think about. So if I just see her, that'd be cool. Like my dad, never heard nothing about him. Nobody ever talked about him. Just heard that he was gone.
Wow,
that's it. But I heard that I've looked more like my mom, so that was something that I was like,
who have you heard that from?
I heard it from my parents. They met her.
Okay.
And that was something that I thought was different. Was like that they met her.
I'm sorry to be prying so much, bro. I really got more questions just off of these, you know, things that we got going on right now. So your parents met her. Did she want to schedule that meeting, or did you like? When did they meet? When did your parents meet her?
How old were you at that time? Do you know? I won't know exactly. I just know a lot of the videos and pictures that were taken of me were like when I was at the orphanage, and I guess they were there when they picked us up, and that's when I guess she was around. And that's just probably if I were to think about it right, it's probably by the time she was the last time she would see me, and that'd be the last time she would hold me.
Gotcha.
So that's, to me, that makes sense. You know, that's when they met her, and because I remember finding like an old envelope in a closet when I was like 7. And it had a different name on it. It's like Carlos Javier. And I kept asking, I was like, who's Carlos? Like, who is this? And I would never get a response. And then one day I opened the envelope up and there was a baby picture, and the baby was me. And then there was a picture of my mom. There was like a little little shaky toy thing. Wow. And I was just so like perplexed, because I was like, I said, so my name isn't actually William. My name isn't William Bussmann. It's Carlos Javier. And I've always looked at that, and I was like, dude, when did I was ever gonna know this? You know, it took like years down the road for me to understand, and that's when like I was like, wow, this is pretty crazy.
I'm astonished right now. We've only started the show. Like we just got started here. Like that right there, bro. That is, what did you do with that information at the age of 7? It's fucked up, because I got something for you too, but continue.
Dude, when I first found out my name was Carlos Javier, and like I just knew that, like, you know, my mom might be out there somewhere and she's probably doing something, whatever. I always thought like my mom's probably living a life, you know, like I want to live the life. I want to be able to see my mom one day. I want to be able to do this and that. And like I let it affect me in a way, and not in a positive way, but there was some positive, but mostly negatives. I took it in the wrong way. It was like, see, my mom gave me up. Now I got this family trying to take care of me, acting like they're my parents, you know, brothers and sisters that I don't even know. And I was like, I just want to know somebody. And so like that led me down to being able to like, I pushed everybody out. So I was just kind of, you know, fending for myself, because I looked at it, I was like, this is who I am. This is who I got to be. You know, this is who I want to be. I don't want to be this American person. I want to be me. And it got changed. And so when that hit my head, that's not who I am. And I just let it control me. So it took me down to like crazy paths. Like I got to do everything on my own. Got to try to make sure I can meet my mom one day. So it was definitely crazy when I found that out.
Was that your first revelation to finding out that you were adopted?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's when I found out I was adopted. I looked in the envelope. I seen that there was a green card in there. And like I didn't understand green cards until like down the road, like middle school. When someone's like, yeah, green cards when like you come to the States and you're asking for permission of residency, you know?
Yeah.
And you're requesting that, and then over time you can get your citizenship. So when I seen that, I was like, no way. I was like, so I'm not even, you know, from here. Wow. I'm not from here. I'm not around here. Like this is supposed to be all new to me. And it's, to me, everybody made it seem like I've been here the whole time. And that's when it just started messing with me, because like, why would you tell me earlier? Like, you know, why didn't you tell me at a younger age? Try to get me to understand it throughout the years. This is.
Did your brother find out in the same manner? Or was it kind of a little different?
I don't know. I don't know how he really found out. To be honest, I don't really know how he took it either. Because me and my brother, like, we speak, but we don't speak. We don't really talk much. So it's like I never really asked him until like recently we had a conversation where he opened up about a lot of stuff, and I like was like, huh. I was like, maybe you kind of had the same thing. It's just you dealt with it a different way. Yeah. And that's where I could see it a little bit growing up with him. He was more quiet, kind of like a quiet kid, didn't really want to talk to people. He just kind of stayed in his own lane. More or less, I was just trying to be out, talk to everybody, trying to get everything off my mind where, if I talk to more people, do more things, do more sports, it'd always be off my mind.
That is unbelievable, bro. At the age of 7, for that to happen to you, that's pretty traumatic in my opinion. To find out in that manner. And I told you I had a story too, similar to yours kind of. I found out that my stepfather was not my dad because you know how they give you those school IDs? Yeah. So like 1 year, it went from Kevin Martinez to Kevin Monji Martinez. Okay. Oh. And I was like, hey, Mom, what's this? And, it was like, Elias is not your dad. And I was like, what? Like that shit like was crazy, right? Yeah. And then like there was always this ID in a drawer, right? In the crib somewhere. Yeah. And it made sense to finally connect it. I'm like, holy shit. Yep. I'm like, that ID is of my dad. Yeah. And that's like, fucking wild, bro.
That's when it made a lot of sense for me when I seen the green card and it said Carlos Javier and then William Bussmann on the end of it because they had both my names. And I was like, wow. I was like, who's Carlos? It was just weird. When I first found out that my name was Carlos, so I'd always be like, oh, Carlitos. I always joke about it now.
Wow. Okay, so you were saying that, you took that information and it kind of, led you down a path that wasn't healthy. Yeah. Would you mind elaborating on that?
So like, I can actually. The stories where I look at it now, I can laugh at it too, because I'm like, that's a whole different person. Everybody's told me too. It's a whole different person than I used to be. Good for you. And I mean, it took, whenever I found out, I had a lot of anger built up. I let anger really consume me. And anger's how I lived every day. I fueled off anger. So I'd always be mad at everybody, mad at my family, even though they didn't do nothing.
You'd be like, good morning. What's so fucking good about it?
Yeah, I would literally wake up mad. They would ask me like, why you look mad? I'm like, I'm not mad. I'm just here. I would that's be my response. I'm not mad. Every time someone asked me, but I'm not mad. And like you could just tell I was mad. And like I would just kept like every time they would talk to me over the years, it would start getting annoying to me because I'm like, I'm sitting there like I want to talk to my mom. I want to talk to my family. I want to know what they look like. I want to just be there with my family, And I just kept getting this annoyance from them. And I just kept fueling it, anger, kept fueling. And then I started, hanging out with the wrong crowd where, people were teaching me that, you got to self-made yourself. You got to be self-made. You got to go out. You got to if you want to make your money up, you got to do it this way. You got to do it that way. You want to excel in life, you got to do it this way. Like my dad would always tell me, if you want to excel in life, it's got to be through school. And like, I seen that and I was like, I got to do good at school. I always stayed good at school, did what I could to pass. But I also knew there was another way to excel in life. So I thought, running around living a little gangster life for a while, was a thing. And I hung around with friends, that did that, went and stole things, bugged people for nothing, got into fights thinking it was, badass and whatever. And that's what I did for years. I would just run around, always be knowing that if I was mad, I would be able to, stand for my own. And fighting was like one of the things that always came to my mind. If someone looked at me, I would be like, I just look at them like it was my family, that they was giving me that weird look. So I would just, I wouldn't even have to say nothing. I would just walk up and start a fight because, I just had a bunch of anger. How you felt. Yeah, just how I felt every day.
Angry.
Yeah, and it led me down to where, I got my first arrest when I was like 14, I think.
Jeez.
I think it was 13 or 14.
Arrest people that young? 14?
Wow. Yeah, they put you in JDC.
Wow.
Yeah, okay. I got arrested on an assault charge. That was the first time I ever been in handcuffs, and that was one of the craziest moments of my life.
That assault, was it one of those scenarios where someone just looked at you the wrong way?
No, this was like something that was like going on for a while. It was more like a domestic assault. So I got charged with like a domestic assault on me and my brother. And
gotcha.
My brother, I just bought a chain And my brother, like he was just always goofing about it, saying like we're saying whatever, you know. And it broke that night. He broke my chain. And that was something I held on to myself because I was like, you know, one day, you know, if I ever see my mom, I want to give this to her. Because it's something that I always wanted to wear till like, you know, I met her and gave it to her, you know, a piece of me. And it broke. And I just lost it that night. I couldn't help myself even through all the anger. I tried to hold myself back. I couldn't. And so I beat his ass so bad. And then my dad tried to get in there. I beat his ass. It just became a crazy thing where just the cops ended up showing up and I couldn't remember until like, you know.
It's like you saw red.
Yeah, dude. It was crazy. I just remember that feeling. It was like something came over me and was like, fight till it's done. And that's how I lived it. Fight till it's done.
You are definitely you were emotionally driven when you were younger. You know, it sounds like, and I don't fault you at all. You know, just listening to your story, I could only imagine how I would have felt. You know, being enraged, but also confused. Like what was really interesting that you said was that, you know, finding out that your name was Carlos. What was the last name? I'm sorry, Javier. Carlos Javier. You know, it gave you a little bit of like positivity, but then it quickly turned negative. Yeah. You know, it kind of helped you find out who you were, but then it made you feel like your whole life was a lie. Yeah. And I could understand how that could be extremely frustrating. You know, holy shit.
That too. Cause I remember sitting in the cop car and the cop was talking to me and he said, why are you doing this? And I was like, and I remember just telling him, I was like, it's because I'm mad. And he was like, why are you mad? He's like, who are you mad at? And I was like, he said, I know it's not who you just got into a fight with. And I was like, why do you ask? Why does it matter to you? He's like, because I could tell when someone's mad at something that's not even related to what happened. And I told him, I was like, yeah, it's my mom. And I remember him giving me that look like he just kind of understood the situation of the fact that I'm adopted. And he could tell, because he could just tell how I was as a kid, how I looked, and how my family looked. He just knew I wasn't, you know, I was adopted. And then after that, he said something to me. I don't remember. It was years ago when that happened. And I remember he put me in, ran my fingerprints and everything. And whenever they put me in JDC and I got out, he came to me and was like, yo, I don't want to see you again, you know? But I ended up seeing him again, like probably about like 10 more times. Wow. Yeah. And every time he'd be like, what are you doing? And I'd be like, you know, bro, just mad. I'm just mad. That's it. That was my response for everything was I'm just mad.
And so that went on for how many years? How many times were you said about 10 times you were in and out?
Yeah, it became to a point where like the city that I was living in Minnesota, the cops knew me. So every time they come to the house or like they come somewhere and they pick me up, they'd be like, great, it's you. You know, because I remember I had a weird school project in like 8th grade. I had a school project where you had to shadow a job and I didn't know who to shadow. And my dad was like, go shadow the cop down the road. And I was like, are you serious? And so I went and shadowed the cop, and this was a new guy. So he didn't know me. I didn't know him. So I sat in his car for like 12 hours. It was boring. And then I think like a week later, that dude ended up coming to my house and arresting me. And he's like, so much for the cop job. I was like, bro, I promise you I didn't want to be a cop. I had to pass school. I was like, school was more important.
Wow, man.
And now, that was crazy whenever I started realizing, like, you know, these cops know me. Like, they don't even know me as a person. They just know me for my history, like my criminal history. And I ended up having to move because I needed to get out of the area. So my parents decided to send me to like a military school in Virginia.
By yourself?
Oh, yeah.
Dude. Yeah. This story gets better. Come on, keep going.
So they sent me. So I went to a military school in Chatham, Virginia.
How old?
How was I old in 8th grade? Our freshman year?
Freshman year, I think you're like 15, 16.
14?
14?
Yeah.
Holy hell.
So I was 14 whenever I was in a military school. And I remember going there. I was like, you know, I like the military. The military is pretty nice. It's not bad. Like, you know, I support the military. So this can't be that bad. So I remember getting there. Went to school, they buzzed my head the first day, and I remember I was like, bro, this is nuts. So I was like, what am I getting myself into? But they told me I had my own dorm. You know, you got to do basic military stuff, but you still doing school. You just kind of living on campus. And that's what they call it. It looked like a college campus, but for high school. And I was like, nah, this can't be bad. So, you know, I stayed there for a year, and I enjoyed the year. I met a lot of cool friends, you know, did some cool military balls, military formations with people. It was really cool. And I remember the end of the year was pretty crazy for me because towards the end of the year, everybody started getting busted for like, this is when Juul used to be big.
Oh, okay.
So
The
we
mango
weren't allowed
Juul
to
pod.
have vapes and stuff.
Yeah.
So mango pods were always the best thing. Everybody was selling mango pods. I remember when I was selling mango pods with my roommate down the hall.
Some real good money there.
Yeah, we were just selling the pods like it was just, just a side business.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I ended up getting caught because weed ended up coming in the picture. Everybody started getting carts. Then they started doing drug tests. And then when they did the drug test, that's when we all knew, like that's when I failed the drug test. And I didn't know I failed it until the commandant, the dean of students, he came up to me during class and was like, he pulled me out of class, was like, yo, let me see your phone. And I was like, no, bro. I was like, I don't know why you're here. I was like, you don't need my phone. I said, I ain't do nothing wrong. And I remember he said, yo, you got to come with me. I was like, no. And I remember telling him no, and he just looked at me like, yo, you're crazy for even telling me no. And then we ended up getting into a little scuffle there in the hallway.
Yo, you a scrapper, bro. We gotta start calling you Scrappy from here on out. God damn it.
This is crazy. So he tried to take my phone from me from my hand, and I pushed him. And then we started getting like a little physical like altercation right there in the hallway. And then I ended up just kind of running to my dorm. And I remember just sitting there for a second. I was like, yo, like, what is going on? Like, there's something weird in the air. Like why he came up to me weird like that. And then other teachers were looking at me kind of weird, like, yo, what's going on? Like, I couldn't tell there was something wrong. I just didn't know. And whenever I went to the president of the school, I went to his office and I was telling him, like, this happened. And he just looked at me, didn't really say much, but he's like, it's all right. We're going to have you wait in the infirmary. And then when the infirmary came down, there was officers down there. And this is the last time I ever got arrested. And that'll be the last time I ever will get arrested. But
Wow.
they came down and they were telling me that, they didn't explain to me the whole reason why I was getting arrested. I was thinking it was because I violated my probation. And whenever they told me they had me held in the infirmary, the officers left, they said that somebody else is coming to get me. And when I heard that, I was like, who's coming to get me? Am I going to like the airport? Am I getting a flight home? So I started hitting people up. I was like, I'm pretty sure I just got kicked out, but I'll be home. And I was telling everybody, I was like, I'll be home. I said, we're going to have fun. It's going to be a party. Let's go. This is going to be cool. I don't have to be in this little, shithole, even though it wasn't a shithole, but I always called it the shithole. And I remember it was like 1:00 that night. The security guard came and knocked on my door and he was like, yo, he said, somebody's here for you. These are guys, they're not dressed in any uniform. He said, one's got a vest on. He said, but I don't know who they are. And he said, I don't know if they're here for you or what. And he said, but you got a window. He even told me, he was giving me the chance to run. He was like, there's the window, or you could just wait here and see what happens. And I learned looking at the window and I was like,
this is crazy.
Yeah, I looked at the window and I was sitting there. I was like, do I do it? Like, I don't know where I'm at really in this area. I don't really got that many connections.
Where were you? What state?
I was in Virginia.
You said Virginia. Okay.
Chatham, Virginia is in like the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
So it's like I really didn't have an option. So I just said, you know what? It's cool. Let them come in. Let me wait it out. And so two big guys came in, these two bulky guys, and they were like, the dude stuck his hand out and he was like, nice to meet you. And I remember just looking at his hand and I didn't even move it because I was like, dude, who are you? Like, I didn't know what was going on. Then he told me, he's like, all right, he said, you got to come with us. And I was like, no, bro. I said, I don't know where I'm going. I'm waiting on a flight to go home. And he said, bro, you're not going home. And I was like, when I heard the words, like, you're not going home, I was like, where am I going? And they wouldn't tell me. So they put me in cuffs. That's
scary, bro.
Yeah.
That's like super fucked up.
They put me in cuffs. They put me on a weighted vest and they shackled me from my ankles to my waist. And I was sitting there, I was like, yo, what did I do that was this bad where I'm getting like transported to like, where am I going? And then they put me in the car and there was another car that was following them and all of my stuff was in the second car. And I was just sitting in the back of this car. And I remember sitting there and like for 7 hours, I was in cuffs and shackles and everything. Wow. And then I remember asking them, I was like, yo, where am I going? Like, what is this? Like, they're like, we'll tell you when we like about 8 hours out. And I was like, all right. So I sat there. Then we stopped at a McDonald's, and he told me he was a bounty hunter. Him and the guy, they do a running group throughout the states, and they're bounty hunters. And I was like, holy shit!
What?
Yeah,
they put a bounty on your head, dude. Like what? Oh my!
I was sitting there, and when I heard that, I was like, bro, I was like, what did I do? I was trying to sit there and go through like every like time I got arrested, every time I spent in court. I was like
beyond scared straight.
Dude, I didn't know what to say. I remember just sitting there in the car. I'm just like, I'm wearing like I'm wearing like a jersey and I'm wearing some shorts and I'm just shackled up and I can't run. And then when we stopped at a McDonald's on the way, he was like, all right, we're like 8 hours away. He's like, you want anything from in here? I was like, no, I'm good.
Oh, you should
and
give you a McChicken before you went in.
Yeah, I thought about it. I was like, yo, I was thought about asking him for a caramel frappe. I was like, and he was like, he was like, all right, you sure? So they both left and they left the door open. And this is when they took my shackles and they took my vest off.
What are they doing?
That's where I was getting. That's where I was thinking. So I was sitting there. The door's wide open. They're inside. It's a full city here. I could probably find somewhere to crash, you know. And they're baiting me to run. So they were waiting because kids. When I ever got to the facility and they opened up the door, the dude, one of the officers there, he came out and got me. There was probably like 8 or 10 people there that were doing my intake, and they were going through all of my shit. Basically, they were just stealing all my shit. But at the same time, I didn't really give a fuck because I was like, I don't even know where I'm at. Mm-hmm. They told me that I was going to Missouri, Stockton, Missouri. So it's like south, very south Missouri, and there's farmland. So it's just farmlands in the middle of nowhere. And they told me it was a locked level. It's like a level 4 locked facility where basically they're like, anybody who can't be handled in juvie, they go there. And they're like, this is like before you even go to like, you go to state, you go to county, before you do any of that, they're like, this is where them kids go. And I was sitting there, I was like, dude, what did I do? So I was like, I'll probably be here for a month, you know? It won't be long, I'll be out, someone will come and get me out. And then I remember like getting in there, doing my intake, and I remember walking into like this big area where all these tables were at, and like they're all cemented, drilled into the ground. So it was what I thought it would be, you know, like look like jail kind of. And then there were like people were lined up with trays. Everybody had different colored suits on, and like everybody was color coded. It was weird. And I remember looking in there, and I seen someone that I recognized. I was like, yo, I know you. And he looked at me and he was like, yo, he gave me this look of like, yo, we can't talk. We're not allowed to. And I was sitting there, I was like, oh shit. Like, this is that type of deal.
You were in a bad spot.
Yeah. And yeah, that was like, I went in 2019, April 18th of 2019, like right after I just turned 15. And so when I got in there, the officer came up to me. He did like all my paperwork and everything. Took my picture. I was like, what's the picture for? He's like, in case you run. He said, we can just put it out there for everybody to see it. And I was like, no shot. I was like, asked him, I was like, has anybody run in this area? Because there ain't a city for like an hour in each direction. He's like, oh yeah, people get away every time. I was like, all right. I said, so I'm sitting there. I'm like, hey, yeah, I can get out. It'd be easy. I didn't see the sun for 3 months. I didn't even go outside. No windows, nothing. They didn't let me go outside. They didn't let anybody go outside. The first time I did go outside, though, we moved rocks. They had us working. It was nuts.
Dude, it's like holes.
It was like holes. It was like holes.
It ultimately, they got you there because you were just bad. You continue to misbehave.
I still, to this day, don't know why I was really there. Wow. Like the full reason. I don't know if it was because of court issues from the past.
Did your parents know that you were there?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the only people that knew. So like none of my friends knew where I went. Everybody knew that I just disappeared off the grid. They knew that there was no connections to me. I got a phone call. I got a 15-minute phone call every 2 weeks. And that was it. And the 15-minute phone call was only the parents only. Every kid got one phone call for 15 minutes every 2 weeks to the parents. Nobody else.
So how long were you in there?
3 years.
3 years.
Till I turned 8. Yeah.
Till you turned 18. What was 18. What, like, did they say do this, and do this, and you're gonna be out? Did they ever tell you that you were gonna be there for 3 years? Did they?
They told me that when I first got in there, I was thinking I was gonna be in there for a month. Julio was the guy's name. He told me, he's like, yo, you're gonna be here for a while. You better hope you graduate. And I was like, graduate? I was like, dude, that's 3 years down the road. I was like, what are you talking about, graduate? He said, enjoy your stay. And I was like, oh my gosh, like enjoy that. That was pretty crazy.
That's horrific, man.
Yeah.
And so you turned over a new leaf. That's insane. That just took up a lot. That was great. I was not expecting that. You kind of like told me a little bit about it, and like, yeah, I didn't think it was that in depth, and that's fucking insane, bro.
Yeah, the place was nuts.
You know what's funny is the first time we met. Okay, the first time we met at Encore Studios because we were there for a session for Methadonix. Yeah. Yep. Steez was in there. And do you remember what I said to you about you were the new guy. So what did I have to do since you were the new guy?
Shoot. Shit. You got to jog my memory a little bit.
I remember. I was asking you a shit ton of questions.
Yeah, you're asking me a ton of questions first.
I was asking you a boatload of questions.
Yeah.
Right?
Because I knew you were a little skeptical at first because like I was just there.
You should be. If there's not that, it's my peoples have you there. Obviously, you're probably okay. But that doesn't, just because one of my friends likes you doesn't mean I gotta like you. I gotta make my own judgment to see, because I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna know this guy. Let me see if I want to give him this information about me, whether or not, So like, I remember saying to you, I was like, I was just asking you a shit ton of questions, and I looked at the room and I'm like, yo, no one's asking Will any questions here. Like, he's the guy with a camera the whole time. You guys are just letting him record you the whole time, without knowing who he is. And, so like my biggest thing was like, I wonder who this guy Will is. He seems, let's try to figure him out, see what we get. And from that initial interaction, I was like, Will's cool. Will's a good guy. He's definitely got a lot of things going on, because you had mentioned to me that you had just started working with Methadonix. You had mentioned that you were running a podcast. You had mentioned you just got into videography and things of that nature. But like the past, like everything that we just covered. Didn't know, not one clue, man. So, but you are a good dude, man. I appreciate it. I do like you, and you definitely have turned over a new leaf, and so that's definitely like your backstory. Is there anything else that you might want to add to that before we move on to maybe a tea time session, and then because there's so much to Will Bussmann. You guys just heard like his whole, like, what is it, a monologue? When you tell your story, you guys just heard his whole monologue, and he does other things other than that's just his past, man. So like, I definitely want to highlight what you do. But is there anything else that you might want to add to that before we move on here?
Dude, even I think one of the best times though out of that whole scenario was the day I got out. The day I got out was the craziest moment of my life. I remember I got out, and Brian, which was the head director, dude, he dropped me off in the middle of nowhere, and he made me hitchhike. So I hitchhiked all the way to Kansas City. And I remember getting a hitchhike there. And I remember I always remember it because this is how I celebrated my late birthday. I went and celebrated with a homeless dude, and we both got a caramel shake from Sonic. And I remember that's the day I got out. I told him too, I was like, bro, I just got out. He was like, bro, I've been just roaming the streets all night. I was like, you want to go to Sonic? It's right there. He was like, yeah, let's do it. So I celebrated my birthday with a homeless dude.
Wow, man, that is quite the story. Like, kudos to you, man. I'm sure you probably had a lot of moments within that time of your life that made you break down, and like really just like, if I were in your shoes and I'm there celebrating my birthday with a homeless guy having a Sonic milkshake, I would be looking up at the sky and being like, holy shit, this is life right now. I do that a lot. This is life right now. And you really try to take in what is going on around you, and that this is your story, and this is how it's going, bro. And that's crazy.
What's crazy is I actually did that the night after he left. I remember looking up at the sky, and this is the first time I prayed in years, and like I ever prayed. And I remember praying. I remember sitting there because I hadn't even graduated yet, and I remember sitting there. I prayed. I looked up at the sky. I was like, if I can walk all the way to the other side of the city and get a ride to where I can finish school, I was like, let me finish school in 3 months. And then, little did I know, I walked to the other side of Springfield and the other side of, and I walked all the way back, got a taxi where I could go finish school at, and I finished school in 3 months. 3 months, like 2 weeks over 3 months, and I graduated. And I remember sitting there, I was like, dude, I remember saying this prayer 3 months ago, just sitting there looking up at the sky. And that was the one time I remember looking up at the sky, really praying, like, let me finish school. If I could do anything, let me finish school and see where life takes after that.
When you do things like that, like, it's so impactful because, like, dude, you went through the lows.
Yeah.
Like, you went through the lows, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So, like, from here on out, like, you have those accolades to be like, I've been in shittier situations, you know, and you can carry yourself through those tough situations, which is great on you. But always remember that, you know, you got to be strong, but every now and then you break down, bro, and it's all right. Cause like, you know, it gets tiring to be that strong guy. You know what I mean? So
no, 100%. I agree with you. Yeah, that's real.
What a great fucking story, guys. Will Bussmann, ladies and gentlemen. Holy shit. You know, with that, let's just get into tea time here. We're going to knock out the tea time session, and then we'll run the rest of the show here. So we're going to step into tea time here. Tea time not brought to you by, but inspired by Arizona Iced Tea. I have an open mind. You opened yours, but cheers, my man here. Let's get it going. Some ASMR for the people. That was a good one. That was a good one. Perfect. Good old Arizona. A little sidebar here before we move forward. Breaking news, Atmosphere is hosting a 3v3 basketball tournament at Marywood University. November 17th, this podcast will be released the week of that event. So, to all you out there watching a podcast, make sure you show out. November 17th to Marywood University. It's for charity. It's for a great cause. It's going to the United Neighborhood Centers through the Feed a Friend program to give families food during these holiday season. So with that being said, guys, welcome to Tea Time. Not brought to you by, but inspired by Arizona Iced Tea. And I think we're just going to do one question today because I want to make sure that we have enough time to speak on everything else that you do, because there's still so much that we need to speak on in regards to your craft. But I'll let you pick the question and then pass me it because I'll read it because my handwriting is butch. And we see what we get for today. Oh, thank you. I'll place the tea time pot right up here. All right. The question of the day, I have no idea what this is. Let's see what it is. All right.
Let's get it.
Oh, okay. This is a good one. All right. So the question or statement is there a book or movie that changed your perspective on life?
A book or a movie that changed my perspective on life? Oh.
There's a few. There's a couple that could really change your perspective on life. And I'm trying to think of one. And I think it's the Extraordinary Life of Walter Mitty. Is that what it is? Do you know that one? No, you don't know that one? You're like he's like the movie connoisseur.
I never heard of that one.
Walter Mitty. The Extraordinary Life of Walter Mitty. It's with Ben Stiller.
Oh, okay.
Ben Stiller. And it's a really good movie. It's about going and he was clowned on a lot, and he would just envision I'm going to be there, and so the movie just progressed that way, and it was a really good movie. That one and Good Will Hunting. That's a good one.
Oh, shoot. I think The Blind Side was one for me. The Blind Side. I watched that as a kid. I watched that one a lot. My family loved that movie.
Michael Moore.
I remember growing up and watching that. I remember just kind of watching that, his life story and him going to something from nothing to something great. And I always look at myself and be like even when I was I would sit there at a table and that was just one of the movies that I would think about because they had a book of it in there and I remember reading it. Mm-hmm. I remember sitting there, I'm like, dude, I'm at nothing right now, but I guarantee you 3-4 years down the road, I'm going to be something great. I'm going to try to, even if I'm not even great yet, I want to be great somewhere down there. So I remember just looking at life different. I'm like, you could be low wherever you're at. It don't matter. But as long as you pick yourself up and you keep trying and trying and trying and trying, you're going to get there. And you'll be able to make it. And then you'll be able to look at that back one day and be like, I remember that, but I remember where I'm at now. Mm-hmm. And I can only glance at that and not reminisce on it. Because if I reminisce, it's going to affect me a little bit each and every day. So that's how I move through the days is, I look at past, I only glance. I can never actually stare at it. Because if I stare, I get lost in it. So when I glance, I'm only taking a quick look. And that's me being like, all right, that's it.
I might need to adopt that ideology. I tend to get stuck in the past sometimes. I'm always fucking staring, and I'm like, oh shit. And everyone's like, oh, hindsight's 20/20, and I'm like, yeah, it is.
Yep.
Michael, do you have a movie or a book? No, you don't. Okay, I thought you usually would have. All right, well, so definitely Good Will Hunting is a great one, and the Extraordinary Life of Walter Mitty. That one is just such a great movie. So. That's it, man. That's Tea Time, not brought to you by, but inspired by Arizona Iced Tea. No 2 questions today, so we can knock out the rest of this podcast because I definitely want to speak on your videography skills. So, Will, you, my friend, you have come within the circle through Methadonix, okay? Yeah. If it weren't for him, I don't think we would have ever met.
Yeah.
But prior to meeting Methadonix, what were you doing? Because, there's projects before, like podcasts and videos and things. What was in the forefront before you started working with Methadonix?
I really, I used to do videos growing up as a kid. Whenever the first GoPro Hero came out, I kind of had it around. I kind of messed around with videos, editing, doing my own little thing. But I ended up just taking to the workforce. I went to a restaurant I worked at a Mexican restaurant called CK's Cantina and Grill.
Okay.
And whenever I got out, that was what I did. I knew that I had to work, and I had to work every day. So I just got into a restaurant, started out as a dishwasher, and then worked my way up to being a cook. And like, I thought it was fun. You know, I loved the restaurant. Everybody was always happy, upbeat every day. There was like never an issue. So I always thought, you know, what if I just cook for the rest of my life? I was like, it couldn't be that bad, you know. But then like someone reminded me, because, you know, I was doing videos on the side, kind of just doing my own thing. Someone was like, really liked something that I created. And they're like, why don't you do that, you know? Why don't you do something like that, you know? And I was like, why not, you know? Try it out. So, like, you know, started doing a little bit more. Went to, you know, working at a steel mill, went back to another restaurant. And then, you know, I ended up, like, a couple of things happened along the way where, you know, I had to be able to look for work elsewhere. And so when I did look for work elsewhere, you know, I was still working in the restaurant, still, you know, just kind of bouncing back and forth between restaurants and just, you know, doing my daily thing as you know, a cook. But that was something I didn't want to keep doing forever. And like, you know, still, you know, I the end goal is to not have to cook again. You just, you know, stay out of the restaurants and, you know, full-time business. But I like to work a lot.
Well,
that's my thing.
I was more so, I wanted to know like what brought you to the creative side of
okay.
like to your creativity. You know, there's a whole, you had mentioned that someone saw a project that you did and you were like, oh, I like that. And then you were like, okay, well maybe I could do something with this.
What built off that? So I came across on YouTube one day a GoPro video, and I looked at it and someone was like jumping out of a plane. And I was like, yo, I want to jump out of a plane. I want to just, I'm like, the way they created the video was like they jumped out of the plane and then it transitioned to like an ocean water and like they were scuba diving. And I was like, yo, how'd they do that? Like I was fascinated by the fact that the video just switched from like being in the middle of the sky in a plane to like underwater scuba diving, like swimming with dolphins, doing all that. I was like, how did they do that? Like the videos, I always thought it was cool. I want to do that. But at the same time, to me, it was like, how did you create that? Like, what came across to create that? And I remember watching more and more videos like that where I was like, I like that creativity where you could just express what's in your mind.
It like stimulated your mind.
Yeah, and put it into a video. And then from then on, I was like, I like the fact that I could travel and then put my emotions into my video work. And like, I remember being like trying to figure out, like over many years, trying to figure out like a vice to be able to, you know, put all the anger and emotion into things. So I was like, you know, why don't I just put it that like all of that into videos and, you know, articulate it into something beautiful. So I would sit there every day trying to learn, like, you know, if how to do certain edits, how to make certain videos, like what to shoot so that, you know, in my mind, I can express what's going on and appear into that.
What were some of the first things that you were recording? What were you going out and looking for?
So I remember one of the first videos I ever created. It's not even, you just look up my name up on YouTube. You'll probably end up finding it somewhere. It's probably at the very bottom of the page. But,
okay.
I remember creating like a jet ski film. That was one of the first ones I ever created, was a jet ski film. Because I remember seeing someone have a jet ski in a video. And they just were like flying through the air, and then out of nowhere, the video transitioned to like something else. And I remember I was like, I want to recreate that type of video. And so I remember recreating it. Obviously, mine wasn't that professional. But
did you get it? You were on a jet ski doing this?
Yeah,
oh, that's
I really
sick,
did. I really went out there. I went out there with a friend. We hopped on a jet ski. I was like, yo, let me record this with a GoPro. So I just put a GoPro up on the front of it.
Awesome.
And then we were jet skiing. And throughout that time, I remember I made my first video and I thought it was the coolest thing. I was like, yo, this is cool. I was like, if I can shoot anything, that'd be cool. So I just started shooting everything, like random stuff, like sunsets to between birds to just flowers to like someone walking to like car coming by. I just, you know, I always pictured everything like a movie. Because whenever I first seen it, I was like, I got to think like it's a movie. So when I started looking at everything, I was like, oh, this looks nice. Why don't I record it? Maybe I can add it somewhere in the mix of a video and do it. You know?
And how long have you been doing videography professionally?
Probably for like a year.
A year, okay.
Yeah.
Was there ever a thought to do photography? Or it's always been the motion picture that drawed your attention?
Someone did ask me that, but I have a good response for that. I wanted to do photography to start off with.
I love that.
But
someone just asked me that.
I wanted to start it off with photography because I did photography class at school.
Okay.
And then I remember start seeing the videos. Someone came to me one day was like, why do you like it so? Why would you choose videos more? You could have traveled, do all this and that. I was like, yeah. I don't know, but the photography you could just stand still. You don't really got to move much. It's right there. But he was like, what about the picture though? When you take that picture, what do you get when you look at it? Like, how do you feel? And I was like, well, I can only remember what it feels like. I can only remember what it looks like based on a picture. He's like, but the video is different. You can hear the sounds. It makes it feel like you're there. You remember what everybody's saying around you. And I was like, that's interesting. I was like, I like that because I'd rather, make a video and remember everything that happened between the detail of the soda can opening from the bird chirping in the background. I want to remember it all to the peak instead of looking at the picture and be like, oh, this was just a nice memory. Looks nice. It looked nice then. I can only remember, but I'll start to forget about, how it really felt being there. That's why I started doing the videos because I wanted to keep having that same feeling every time I created something. I'm like,
that's a great response, bro, because I'm not gonna lie, I was gonna ask you what brings you fulfillment in videography, but you basically just said that, just being able to capture the emotions through and just the sounds. I know exactly what you're saying. It paints a picture for you.
Yeah, it does.
Like
your imagination.
You can take a picture of someone, and they could look happy, but maybe they were crying like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. Yep.
You wouldn't know.
Yep.
You have no idea because it was just that moment.
Yeah, it was just that moment, and that's the only moment you could see. I'd rather have it where, like, if I'm going on a vacation and I want to remember the entire vacation, shoot video the whole thing, because then you're still going to remember the whole thing from what you said, what other people said, how it felt, where you went, what you did, instead of just taking a quick snap, being like, pose for the picture. I don't want to pose for the picture. I just want to keep the cameras rolling.
And so I was looking at your YouTube, WB Productions, Will Bussmann, guys, check him out. There's a few videos in there. You have atmosphere, you have some vlogs, you have some music videos. And what are you looking to shoot though? Like, where do you want to take, if someone could say, like, if you had the choice of shooting this video or that video, what are you going to record?
Ooh.
And why? Why does that draw you to it?
Ultimately, my end goal at the end of it all, what I want to do mostly is I just want to travel and create what's on my mind. I don't want to have to. I love the music. I do. I love shooting music. I love shooting commercials. I love doing all of that. But there's a part where I want to be creative in my mind and express myself, like just solely on my thoughts and like. Instead of, say, you shoot a video, like a music video, you got to have an outline, low-key, a little bit of a layout. It's got to match the music. I want to be able to have my own type of just instrumental. I want to get feeling with the beat, where then when I make the video, I want to base it off on like an emotion that I'm feeling then. And then I want to go out and record video, something that, kind of goes around what I'm feeling then. So that when you watch the video, you can kind of get that, you could get the emotion, the expression that I'm trying to give you and show you. And that's ultimately what I want to do.
So it's like you're trying to create a motion picture that tells a story, and can resonate with the viewer.
Yeah, it resonate with you without having to even say a word. Like
that's okay.
Yeah,
all right.
I want to be able to express everything without having to say a word.
That'd be dope.
Being behind it, I don't even. Cool. Yeah, there's a part of me where I like at one point I would just want to be behind the camera and just shoot it all without anybody having to say anything. But you look at it and you're like, wow, I can understand it. That's pretty cool.
Like the movie Silent, A Quiet Place.
Yeah.
Where it's just so quiet.
Yeah.
But, to add to that, adding off of the videos that you have up and your vlogs and things, I was looking at your vlogs and I was going to, just talk to you about them, maybe like give a little bit of feedback here. But being what you just said, I'm like, oh, no, it kind of makes sense now. That's why he did it the way he did.
Yeah.
My thing was just going to be like, I wanted to see or hear a little bit more dialogue from you.
Yeah.
Where are we? What are we doing? Who's
I said
here?
that to myself every time that I went to record my own dialodude, and I would hear myself, I'd be like, "Nah, you can't." Hate
this podcast. And
I was like,
watch.
"There's no way." I was like, "I can't." Dude, because I would sit there in my own my little desk. I had like a computer, and then I had like a little keyboard, and that was it. So I would sit there every day. And just when I'm editing and stuff, I would talk to myself and try to hear myself dialogue it out. And I would sit there, I'd be like, oh, this sounds weird. I can't do it like this. And then when I would try to edit it into the video, like put my own dialogue, I'd be like, it don't make sense. I gotta like talk while I'm there, but at the same time, I don't have to talk while I'm there. And so ultimately, I understand.
Just give a sense of direction.
Yeah,
that's all I want to say.
Yep,
Just give a sense of direction, But I'm guilty for it as well.
Yeah.
I'm guilty for it as well. We've recorded vlogs and things get hectic, and then the script that you had lined out in your head goes away.
Yep.
And it's like, oh well, shit. Like what happened?
Yeah,
Well, it's you got in the moment, and that's what happened.
I'll be sitting there like pressing the record button like 4 or 5 times because I'm like, oh shit, I messed up. This ain't the script.
Exactly. So it's that's what it is, man. I was seeing your vlogs. I was seeing that you were working with Kolo. Shout out KoloTV. He's been on the show before. How has that benefited you? If you don't mind, let me hear your thoughts.
Working with Kolo, dude, I've because I've been trying to improve my skills like constantly. I'm trying to.
What do you feel like you need to improve on?
For me, I'm hard on myself. I feel like I got to improve everything. Every video, I want everything to be better than the next one. So I want it to be better than what I just created before. Because when I create something and I look at it, I'll be like, all right, that's fire. But then probably about 5-10 minutes down the road, I'll look at it and be like, oh, fuck, that's kind of ass. I want to make another one, Like, even though it might not be ass to anybody else, I look at it, I'm like, I don't like my work. What can I do to make it better? Like, between transitions, sound effects, how I shoot the video. Do I need to get a different angle? Do I need to get a different area? Like, different setting? And when I started working with Kolo, he opened up my mind about it a little bit. He was always, like, I think the first time I worked with him, he was telling me, he's like directing me almost in a way. He's kind of like my mentor right now in the film. And he would be like, take a picture at this angle, get at this one. He said, switch every 5 minutes, keep rotating, do your thing. And he was like, he would just say it in a way where I was like, yo, I'm like picturing it now and I understand what you're saying. And so I'm starting to take the words and I'm trying to put it into the films that I create now. And I think one of the last ones that I created, I used a lot of what he said and I put it into the video and I was like, I like this one. That was one of the first ones that I really kind of looked at myself and I was like, I like this video.
Yeah.
Like not even after creating it, I was like, I really like this one. I was like, this is something different. I just tried something else, someone else's advice. Cause like, usually, like, someone gives me advice, I listen to it. Sometimes it goes in and out the ear. But, like, this time I really took it to heart and actually, like, applied it. And that's when I was like, I'm going to keep trying this every time. Try to upgrade equipment, take different angles, see what happens.
Well, that's great, man. Good for you, being working with Kolo and, taking the knowledge from him, any advice, and being able to understand that because like, to be able to have a mentor, so to speak, just anyone, like if someone in the podcast realm is telling me what they're doing and it's working and things like that, I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna talk to them and understand that, bro. So good for you. I really do enjoy some of your early projects. I'm excited to see how far you go. I wanted to give you a compliment on your atmosphere videos that you did there for Methadonix and Dallas. They were really good. The lighting was great. The cuts were great. You were on stage that entire night, fucking, with a heavy camcorder. The two-hander. And you really put together, I saw what I wrote is crisp and clean. So, it was beautiful picture.
Thank you. I appreciate
great
it.
cuts, man.
I was a little nervous, bro. I remember being up on stage because that's the first time I ever been on stage like that in front of people. And
Mine too.
I was sitting there nervous because I'm holding this camera. I'm like getting there. I think it was like towards the end, the camera died. And I don't think Methadonix, you knew about that, but the camera died. So I had like a little phone mount on the top of it, and I just started pressing record.
Oh man!
Because I was like, bro, the camera died the wrong part. So I'm sitting there like, Kolo, you got it. Kolo, where's the extra camera at? And he was like, here, take mine. We'll just, because he ended up taking my camcorder.
Yeah. And
he just started recording himself. He started going around walking with it. I was like, all right. So I grabbed his camera. We started doing a little recording. And that's pretty funny. So that was pretty cool.
It was a great night, man. But I think we're about to wrap up the show here. But before we get off the air here, I want to give the floor to you. If there's anything that you want to shout out for people to want to work with you, things, just anything to leave for the people, the floor is yours.
Well, I want to say this. Actually, yeah, let me. No matter where really you're at in life, wherever, like, no matter what type of situation you got to stick to your values and morals. Your morals and values mostly. You got to understand who you are as a person. You really got to take advice, right? You got to, like, understand certain situations. You got to look at everything in a bigger picture. No matter what it is. There's always a bigger picture to everything. And take that and try to keep teaching yourself every day and how to get better, be a better person, better for the betterment of yourself and others. Like, I got a daughter, so every day I've got to teach myself to be something new, to be something great, so that my daughter can grow up, learn that, some way that her daddy, did it a lot for her. Mm-hmm. He changed himself. He made himself better and great so that, he could show it to other people. And ultimately, I want to show everybody that, like, you can do it even from nothing. Like, I know you hear it a lot, but, like, you really can. Like, it takes a long time. It took me many years to be able to understand that from nothing there's something great. But that's a little bit of advice I would say is just keep working hard every day. Work as hard as possible. Don't stop. When you get tired, don't stop. There's no time. There's times for breaks, but when you take a break, you got to get back up. And it's hard sometimes because sometimes you look at the bigger picture, you look at everything's falling apart, but you just got to know in yourself, you got to keep grinding. There's time to grind and there's time to rest.
Preach, 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 man. Preach, preach, preach. Guys, Will, thank you for being you were an open book. Let's just put it that way. You were an open book, bro. You came on this show. You told me that you had a story, and you definitely did, bro. I'm glad that you're within the circle, man. I'm glad to see that you have came from where the hell you came from, bro. Because you came from down there, bro. It was down and out pretty bad for a while there, man. So congratulations to you, bro. I'm sure your daughter, when she hears and really understands your story, bro, she's gonna have the utmost respect for you always,
Yep.
And once again, man, it was a pleasure, and thank you for being here.
I appreciate you having me on the show. It's been an honor.
Of course, man, no problem. Everyone, give it up for our director, Michael, in the booth here, always working hard. He's working hard. Our editor, Z Visions. We got Nezo on the sound. He's been doing great, crisp work. But with that being said, everyone, I am the man in the middle, Kevin Martinez, signing out.